Hello and welcome to today's presentation titled Mr. Magoo's Manoeuvre. I'm your host Emilio, and in this talk today we're going to be presenting evidence for the case that Mr. Magoo, who is Donnie, has purchased a boost on this given league account, and that's based on a number of suspicious activities which occurred on the account on a given afternoon, which I will go into detail of. So we're going to bring a lot of evidence to light today. Of course, at the end of the talk, you're welcome to make up your own mind about things, but I'm basically going to be presenting this case that this boost did in fact happen, and we'll be working through all the events which transpired. So sit back, relax, enjoy the talk. We've got some creative friendly music in the background, and please enjoy. So we start off today by going over this idea of, well, who is Mr. Magoo? It's a League of Legends account. It was formerly named 131201969, aka the phone book. It belongs to Donnie himself. The name of this account was changed on the afternoon of the 14th of the 3rd, GMT plus 11, and this time zone is going to be becoming more important as we move through today's slides. As a player, Donnie, we all know and love, he's a decorated Heimerdinger player, one of the best on the Oceanic server. He knows all the build paths, he knows the best runes, he can play Heimerdinger in almost any role, support, mid, ADC, top. I mean, hell, he could probably jungle it. He knows the best combos to use in lane. He knows how to, decide when to use an R plus E as opposed to an R plus Q. Excellent Heimerdinger player. Could probably climb to Diamond or Masters tier very easily on this champ. But there's always this idea of Don wanting to prove that he's more than just a Heimerdinger one trick, and I think that's fair. He wants to prove that the champion puddle is in fact a champion pool. And so what does that look like? Well, it comes in the form of, now a formal diagnosis has not been reached here, but likely suffering of hyperactive champ disorder or HCD. So what's that look like in Donnie's game? Well, it looks like a sudden decision to play some Maokai and drop the 070. A game of Yorick, why the hell not? Let's drop a 294 in ranked. Or perhaps a 211 on Kled. Although he has popped off on Kled a few times, so credit to him there. So that's a bit of background on Donnie and Mr. Magoo. We have some alternate accounts of Donnie's. This is just to provide some background information. Donnie the Rad is probably the other main account, sitting at Silver 2 negative win rate at the moment. Etnies, level 22, no ranked games played, obviously. Enid Defoe hovering about Silver 1 MMR. And of course the LCK Lucy account. Now this was purchased, which is important, by Donnie in Season 9. It was sitting at High Diamond. And after he got his hands on it, look, there was some unfortunate things which transpired. We saw a rather spectacular fall from grace from High Diamond down to Gold 1 after about 110 ranked games or so. So now we've got some background out of the way, I'd like to lay the foundations of this evidence I'll bring to light by looking retrospectively a little bit in terms of time, a failed series played by Donnie. And by series here, I'm talking about a promotion from silver rank to gold. So this was earlier than the main events we'll focus on today. On the 5th of March, Donnie the Rat on this account had an excellent run to his gold promos. So the account was previously sitting at Silver 2, Silver 1, has a nice climb up to gold promos. Now we see a Seraphine game, absolute pop-off here, 135. See a number of Heimerdinger games, classic Donnie stuff, dropping a perfect KDA on Heimer Sup. Not easy to do because he is such a squishy champ. Now what happened after this was rather unfortunate. So we see Donnie get into the promotion series and then drops 22 deaths across 2 games and falls out of that series. So unfortunate game of Heimer support and just a random game of Kaiser, why not? Now what happens after that is a number of other losses and an eventual drop back down to, so this is where the promotion series is played, drop back down to, unfortunately, Silver 2. So with this in mind, we might be asking, well, how's Don feeling? Is he, is this the end of Donnie's climb for this season? He's probably suffering from a bad case of the promo blues. We've all been there. You have an awesome run up to your promotion series, then it all goes to CRAP. This was displayed by Donnie in various chat platforms. The use of all caps demonstrating a large degree of anger. He also had this anger directed towards a specific player. So he was interested in finding the Viego who wronged him so badly. And Donnie was looking for some repercussions for his poor play in game. So where's this leave our hero? Well, On his other account, the phone book, as of the 11th of March, it was sitting at a nice silver 1. So this was perhaps another opportunity for Don to prove himself by using this account, that he can climb and he can start to ascend the ranks towards high diamond and masters, where he belongs. So as we get into the meat and bones of today, I've put together a timeline in order to help us follow the events which transpired. All of these times are listed in Sydney GMT +11. So I'd like you to imagine, you're in Donnie's time zone, a little bit different to our own, but just to do your very best to imagine you're living in Sydney, you're in Donnie's shoes, and this is what happened. So the events we're mainly interested in occurred on the 14th of March, and as we look to 4 a.m. on that day, Donnie woke up with a bad case of back pain. Now this may be due to carrying teammates, maybe due to carrying the cooking load in his current premises, or could be a BJJ injury. That remains to be seen. So what do you do if you're Donnie and you wake up at 4 a.m. And your back sore? Well, you perhaps take some over-the-counter pain medications. We hope you did for his sake. And you, of course, boot up ranked. Why the hell not? And play some Akshan. What does Donnie do? Well, he doesn't drop the best KDA, 549, but he gets a nice little win. And I'd be happy if I got up at 4 a.m. with back pain and managed to get a win in ranked. So applause to him for that. He goes back to sleep, hopefully, now satisfied. He's acquired +30 LP, nice gains, by the way, climbing towards that promotion series. Goes back to sleep, and, the pain medication is kicking in. He's had a nice rank win, probably slept like an absolute baby, and I don't blame him. Now, later in that day, at midday, Donnie returns home from, and I put in quotations marks here, work. It's up to you to decide whether a medical student, running around a hospital in the ED, pretending to do things is work or not. Claims it is. Leave it to your own devices to decide. He gets home around midday, really busy morning. Getting home at midday. He plays some more Akshan, because why not? He's proven a successful champ for him. Perhaps a new one trick on the horizon after Heimerdinger. An unfortunate loss here, 10.97, not great CS per minute, but it's hard on Akshan when you're roaming from mid a lot. He, however, doesn't give up and gets right back in and drops a very clean 13.75, +20 LP, and an awesome triple kill. Now this triple kill, this win here, puts him into promotion series. So a net +23 LP, and he gets into, on this account, the phone book, his promos 2 gold. So what do you do if you've just dropped a triple kill in ranked and just got into promotion series? Hell, I'd load up another game, and that's what Donnie did. Unfortunately, didn't go as planned. 14, 8, and 8, hovering around 5 CS a minute. And the last way you want to kick off a series is starting 0-1. Now, this is important because Donnie is likely feeling a bad case of deja vu at the moment. A number of days ago, he's been in a similar situation, great run of games up to promotion series, and then bombed out. So he's perhaps feeling a bit of anger, anxiety. Look, I've queried here some desperation. It's probably a bit too strong of a word, but he's probably feeling uncomfortable about having to play the next 2 games and having to win them both in order to successfully, promote to gold, to start that climb up to diamond and masters and prove that he's the best player amongst us. This is an artist's depiction of Donnie at the time, sitting in his computer chair, still got the business shoes and socks on after coming home from work, head in the hands, very upset with how this promo series has started. Now, before we get into what happened in this afternoon, which we've been, of the day we've been examining so far, I'd like to paint a picture of, this idea that, everyone says history repeats itself. So LCK Lucy, this account which we know Donnie purchased previously, he also purchased a boost on. Now, how do we know this? Well, let me ask you, have you ever seen Donnie play Aurelia and drop a 15, 6, and 8 with 8.7 CS a minute? I'll let you think about that. Have you ever seen Donnie play Rise and go 13, 8, and 8 with 8 CS per minute? So this was highly suspicious activity on this account at the time. So this was a number of years ago. Now, to argue against this, Donnie actually went to the effort of posting bank transactions to prove that there was no money going out of his account in order to buy a boost. He was, very upset about being accused. He was offended about being accused of buying a boost. He's even said here, buying diamond accounts is my limit, but he would never boost. So this was never formally proven, but it was vehemently denied, and there were suspicious games on the account. So perhaps the jury's still out on this one. I'll also bring your attention to the Alpha Legion fiasco. I've said here circa 2020, look, give or take a couple years there. The classic looks like he took care of you, where more dollars were spent than LP gained for a given boost on whatever account Donnie was playing on at the time. So there's a bit of a history here in terms of exchanging money for LP. So we come back to our timeline now. So we've gone past midday, Donnie 0-1 in the promotion series, and the main set of events we're going to be focusing on now take place within this roughly midday to about 6 or 7 p.m. Sydney time. So what does this suspicious activity look like? Well, it looks like 3 exceptionally clean wins. These were all MVP performances, by the way, on champions that Donnie has not much of a history of playing. Never seen him play Yi much. I've seen him play Malphite in Clash, and I tell you, it's not great except that one ulti hit, and bless him for it. And also Tristana, which I've seen him play a little bit, but I haven't seen a lot of it recently. So we're talking about maybe a couple seasons ago, Donnie was playing Tristana mid. So this is the suspicious activity we're going to focus on now. This actually achieved his promotion series, so 1 win, 2 win, and then he got a nice plus 37 LP. So awesome LP games coming right out of promotion series. You've got to be feeling pretty good about that. So what's the significance of 3 games? Well, I imagine if you're going to purchase a boost for an account, then well, how do you sort that out? Perhaps you pay for getting to a given rank. So you say, I want to boost from silver to gold. My account is sitting at silver 1 XX LP. I'd like to get gold 4. Or maybe you buy 3, 5, 10, 20 wins on whatever account that you'd like them to perform these services on. So I think the number of games here is significant. It's not just that his promotion series completed, but there's that additional win there. Now, what also happened in this afternoon was that the account at the time named the phone book 131201969, this account was renamed to Mr. Magoo, title of our talk, and all the friends on this account were deleted. Now, it's important here that it is all friends because other random accounts which were added on this account were not deleted. How do we know this? Well, a stream by Mr. Magoo / Donnie in the event since what we're discussing today. If you imagine Donnie streaming his client over Discord, you've got the client in front of you, you're watching him interact with it. On the right-hand pane, you can see the friends list. It was noted that there were still 20, 30 accounts added there. However, we have all been deleted at this time from the account. So the question is, well, why did Donnie just delete his friends? Why did he rename as well? I think, perhaps some tracks were being attempted to be covered. Now, what's also interesting about this set of games is that there was the same barcode account playing with Donnie or whoever was in charge of the account at the time across all 3 games. Now, what are the chances of running into the same person twice in the ranked solo queue? Well, you say it's Oceania, it happens. Look, you may not be on the same team as them, so it's suspicious that it was 2 games on the same team, but you would very likely not see the same person a 3rd time. So I'll label this for the moment as a kind of statistical anomaly that this account when playing would be paired with the same person across 3 games. Now, these are the MVP performances as I've spoken about, and we're going to get into some more details as we move forward. Now, to add to this idea of perhaps these accounts were duo at the time, we see at the time of the game ending, both accounts instantaneously disconnect. Now, why is that suspicious? Well, 1, they're doing it at the same time. 2, this instant disconnecting activity is often a feature of streamers or boosters. They want to get out of queue instantly. This is done by performing usually an Alt F4 action as the Nexus explodes. You do it instantly, you go back to the lead client and you can queue up again. So it's a time saver as much as it is a flex to just instantly leave. Now, why is that weird? Well, have you ever seen Donnie do it? No. What does he like to do? He likes to say GG, well played to his team. Good on him. He also likes to flame the enemy, drop a nice win, losers, or you guys were terrible, etc, etc. So this is beginning to paint a picture of uncharacteristic behavior on the account during this afternoon that we're examining. Not only is it uncharacteristic to pick these champions and absolutely smurf, but also the activity in game is suspect. So what happened after those 3 games? Well, I'll show you. It was a pretty rough time. We saw a return to champions we know Donnie plays, Lissandra, Morgana, Heimerdinger. We also see a return to the form that Donnie may have been displaying in the weeks or days leading up to these ranked games. Some pretty horrible losses here, 2-10, 3-7, 3-8. Nice win on Morgana though, respect for that. So it's weird that someone who smurfed their series so hard would suddenly start having these run of terrible games. Where is the Malphite which smurfed 12-1? Where is the Yi which dropped insane MVP games? Why would you not continue to play the champs and fly up the ranks? We'll leave that with you for the moment. What's also rather damning is that during this entire afternoon period, the promo series being smurfed, the LP games being excellent coming out of it, there was absolute radio silence from Donnie. Now, is Donnie the kind of person who would boast about these things? Yes, he loves to. And, we don't blame him for it. It's fun to boast to your friends. But it's interesting that during this entire time, there was absolutely nothing said by Don. So let's look even further into the future now. So 14 games played at the time of when I put this together on the account since the promotion series. What did this look like? Well, it looked like 10 out of 14 were losses, including 7 consecutive. And so we're left with the question of, is this the same player who smurfed in their promos? Does this look like the guy who was popping off on Yi and Malphite and Tristana? Remains to be proven, perhaps. What does a guilty man or woman do when they've done something inconspicuous? They want to perhaps cover their tracks. So what does covering your tracks look like in League of Legends, you ask? Well, it looks like in the event of this Yi game, so this was a Yi game from the ranked solo in the promotion series, this player went 14-3-9, double kill MVP, excellent CS per minute, substantially higher than the average gold master in terms of damage dealt, and smurfed on the enemy jungler. What do you do to cover your tracks and prove to everyone that you can play Yi? Well, you play Yi again. But what does Donnie do here? He plays a normal, so not a ranked, perhaps expressing some hesitancy about actually, his ability to play this champion in ranked. We see different rune choices. Yeah, okay, they're a little bit subjective. We're fine with that. See worse CS per minute, worse kill participation, substantially lower than the average gold master in terms of damage. And the Silas, well, it looks like he bent poor Donnie over in this game. So, look, he got a win, but, this is a little bit of guilty behavior, perhaps. But there might be some more formal proof. It's cold here in the pudding, but what we're really going to examine now is the actual in-game movements and activities by whoever was on the account in the afternoon, which we've been looking at. Our first one here, we're looking at during the Malphite game. So Malphite's already 7-1-3, 121 CS per minute. It's hard to farm on Malphite. He was matching up against a Scion. Watch for 2 things here. The first I want you to look at is the item purchases, and the second is activity, movement by the actual Malphite character. What does it look like? Well, you notice as soon as Malphite arrives in shot, there is an instant purchase of Frozen Heart. Is Donnie someone who instantly knows what items to buy? I'd argue perhaps not. Someone who likes to go up and down the aisles a lot. He's browsing around, having a bit of a peruse. He wants to think about what might be best here. What can I afford? If I buy this component plus that full item, I'll have this much left over. He's not someone who, he likes to dilly-dally and shop, we'll say. So that's interesting that whoever's playing on this account suddenly can buy items instantly. The other interesting thing, which we'll watch, is this movement on the Summoners platform. So not only is a pot running, which is a tactic used by high ranked players to increase recovery after recalling, but we saw those jittery movements at the edge of the summons platform. So this is knowing the exact range of the summons platform where you are still in range for the recovery of life and mana. And I've never seen Donnie do these little stuttering steps. This takes really good mouse control, nice high sensitivity in order to click back and forth. So you're telling me he's suddenly pulling this out in an afternoon game in this promotion series? Another thing we'll notice is on the Yi game, the employing of the stop command. Players stop move in order to taunt the enemy Scion as he runs away. I don't think any of us have seen Donnie ever do that. We'll also see here, again, evidence of the instant disconnect at the end of the game. As we said before, this is not something that Donnie likes to do. And again, we see here, that the phone book and this barcode account disconnecting within, seconds of one another. Lastly, we're going to look at something which happened in the Tristana game. So this is a minute 20 into the game. The Tristana player, whoever this was, has gone mid. They found the enemy gangplank and they're getting swarmed by the little Teemo rat who was hiding in camouflage. Now at this point, it's interesting that no skills were leveled. Donnie's not someone I've known to not skill anything instantly. I mean, I do it too pretty much, all of the time. We likely all do, but definitely not something that we have seen Donnie do. And what is it actually used for in this case? Well, within 2 seconds, so minute 20 to minute 22, the rocket jump is leveled and used to escape this ambush. So this is very high level mechanics by the Tristana in order to pull this type of move off. Is it typical of Donnie? Again, this is something I'll leave with you as a viewer. So in summary today, on that particular day, the 14th of March, we were examining at 4 AM, Donnie woke up with back pain. He had a nice ranked win on Akshan. About midday, he gets home, he plays a few more games, he gets into series, and unfortunately loses that first promotion series game. What then happens is in the afternoon of that same day, there's 3 very clean wins, 3 MVP performances on champions that we don't know Donnie to normally pop off on. The promos are done, massive LP is gained, and friends are wiped from the account while randoms are still there, as well as the account being renamed. So during all of this time in the afternoon, there was no boasting from Don about the MVP pop-ups, no boasting about the LP gained. There's unrecognizable in-game movements, seconds spent in the shop in-game versus minutes, instant disconnects once the game over. And this is really painting the picture of, what was in this afternoon, entirely new gaming habits by, Don supposedly for 3 games, and then he went straight back to what happens normally. And so we saw that in that evening, and in the future, there's been a kind of return to form of what we might expect from Donnie having a bad game. Now, I say bad game purposely here because we do know that he smurfs plenty of the time. So at the end of today's talk, I'd like to say that based on the evidence I've gathered, and I thank you, my friends who have assisted me in this, that ladies and gentlemen, look, we got him here. And Donnie, we ask that you formally come forward to admit that a boost was purchased, that you didn't want to play the promotion series from silver to gold due to whatever anxiety or angst you were feeling, that you bought this boost and since then have got keys back for the account and have been playing on it. I thank you for your attention today. Hope you have a lovely evening, and thank you very much for watching. This has been Emilio.